So this is a hopefully speedy tutorial on how to use CryptPad, which is a secure and end-to-end encrypted document collaboration tool. Some might call it like a alternative to Google Docs, and it means that you don't have a large corporation like Google snooping on all of the data and the files that you're writing. So it's a safer way of storing your data. This training was made on the 23rd of, I should say 23rd of November 2025. If you're watching this over a year after, this is just good advice for tech trainings generally. Look back at to see if there's any updated videos. Look at the written documentation that CryptPad themselves have made, because things might have changed. So if you're thinking that things don't quite look right, that's because this training goes out of date, and technical guides have a tendency to, especially video ones like this. So yeah, bin it if it's not relevant anymore. The idea is just to get the basics of getting you started with CryptPad. It's got quite a few features. We're not going to go through everything. We're going to go through what people are actively using, what we think most people who are organising with CryptPad are actively using. And just to give you a bit of context, this is a training that is part of Tipping Point's free tech hub for grassroots organisers in Britain. So let's just dive in now and get going. I'm just going to look straight at CryptPad itself. So the way you access documents and collaborate with people is via a web browser. So Firefox is a good one. Would recommend using that. And you'll find it's a lot easier to use a desktop or a laptop. You can use CryptPad on a phone. It tends to be a bit slower and a bit less reliable. If you're facing issues with getting CryptPad links to open, just a little tip is try opening them in a private window, an incognito window. That might make things a bit easier. But that's only if you're struggling, if someone sent you a link to use. To start with, this here is what comes up when you write cryptpad.fr, which is the flagship instance, if you like, as CryptPad have hosted their own version. And there are different versions of CryptPad around, but they all look like this. And you can log in or sign up and create an account, but you don't need to start using it. So I'll just show you what it's like to act as a guest to create a document, and then we'll sign in to store that document long term so we can access it later. If you're a guest, the documents get saved locally on your laptop or on your computer or your phone up to, I think, 60 days, and then they get deleted unless you have cookies set to clear from your doc. So it's good if you're very temporary use for this, but if you want to use it more long term for organising, I'd say create an account. So we'll just go into using rich text. Rich text is the easiest document format to use and collaborate with. So, and the other one's a little bit more clunky and have different use cases, but rich text is the main one that most people will be using. So we click on that, it will create a CryptPad pad. It takes a bit of time depending on your internet connection. And whenever you open a document that someone's shared, or in this case, create a document in a guest, when you're a guest and you're not signed in, you'll get a pop-up here that says, do you want to store it in your CryptPad? I'm going to say store for now. You don't have to, but it just means that you'll be able to get back to it later. If it was a very temporary use, you just needed to jot something down, share it with one person, you didn't necessarily need to store it. I'll click store there. That says it's stored. And that just means it's saved onto my laptop until my cookies are cleared or 60 days time. I'm going to say don't show again. Then the basics of the document are hopefully reasonably simple to get started. So first of all, an automatic title is made that just is the date. I'm going to change this to example document and then click to save that. So that means the title's changed, so I can come back to it later. You can just start typing and put information in here. If you want to format it, you can add headings by making some text and changing the format from normal to heading, let's say heading 1 or heading 2, and cascading down the document. If you wanted to add, and spell check is possible if you use Control, right click. On most browsers, you might need to change some settings in yours, but it should, and that's because CryptPad stores all the data in your laptop. So if you were to right click on it and it's not going to do spell check by sending data to CryptPad because it doesn't know what's written in your document. So that's, I mean, the basics of writing stuff in the document and some super secret plans. And you can format your text using the toolbar at the top. And the little image should describe what it's going to do. So let's say I had a 3-point plan. I could say first, buy cake ingredients to make cake, 3 eat cake. You can use lists, you can format it different using bold, italic, underline, or strike through there. And then you can also import images, either by pasting an image into here, just copy image and paste it in there. Okay, and that should work, it should upload. CryptPad is a little bit temperamental sometimes, that didn't work because there was an error that came up. But you should be able to add it using, where is insert? Pasting is the best way of doing it, as I can describe here. And yeah, that's most of the way to describe it. And the next thing is sharing your document. So the easiest way to share a document is to click share, the button at the top. The key thing is you don't copy the link from the top. If you're used to using Google Docs, you might instinctively go to the top, copy the link and share that. Don't do that. Instead, click the share button here. And you've got a link here that's created. And you tweak some settings first before you share it. So the first one is, do you want the person to just view the instructions in the document, or do you want them to be able to edit it? And this is a way of them seeing the decrypted content of your document and editing it itself. So let's say we want this person to edit the document. We can copy that link and we can share it with them. So I'm going to flip over to a different browser with a different user logged in. Imagine this is someone else. I've called it a user called Joe's friend. And we could paste in that link or copy it and click it. It loads up, and now we can see as a different user that we're in here ready to edit the same document. You can see on the right there's 2 users. One of them is the guest, which is the person who made it. One of them is this person here, the user account logged in. And again, this pop-up comes up to say, do you want to store it? So this is saying to Joe's friend, this account, do you want to store it in your drive? And I'm going to say yes, I would like to store this. And then finally, if we go back to this first browser we had set up, you're likely going to want to create an account. You can see here, this is the other account in there, the cursor of where they are in the document, so you can see. So let's say we create an account. It's very simple too. You just go to the menu in the top right, click sign up. And it's got a series of warnings. So we're going to call this Joe test account. And we're going to set a password using a generated password with the Bitwarden plugin that we've got here, and save that. Copy out the password. For instance, this is a generated one. And now I've got username, password. I've saved my password in my password manager, and I've ticked here import document. So that document we saved to the guest session, the one we created, should be imported into my permanent drive. Accept the terms and conditions. Because this is encrypted, it's really important you remember this password. If you forget it, there's no way of getting your data back. Okay, next step, click sign up. So it gives you some warnings. Tries to sell you something. We'll just go with the free one. The free one works fine. It's got everything you need in it. So now we've got our own personal drive here. And so far, that document we've created hasn't been imported in. Let's see if we can refresh again. seems to have been slightly lost. But that's not a problem. So we've lost the document. It's not here. It may be that it comes back later, but for now we don't have a document we've created all the important plans, but we did share it with our friend, Joe's friend. And they've got it here, and they should have it in their drive too. So if they access their CryptPad, they go to their drive by clicking the profile picture there. They got an example document there saved because they clicked to save it to my drive. And this is why having an account is quite helpful because it's more reliable. So if we go into the example document, double click, we've got that there. We might want to share it again back. We could either share it by link, but the most secure way to share between two people, and this, you don't need to do this, you can do it entirely by links if you need to, is by using contacts and CryptPad contacts. CryptPad contacts take a few steps to set up. Once you're in contact with someone and you're connected, you can share directly using an access list. There isn't one here. So the way that you would share your contact with someone, you'd go into your profile on the right-hand side, click Profile, and then click the button Share. That copies a link to your clipboard. Then I'd send it in a message to the other person, and they'd access it here. So they say that the other person has clicked on this link. You can send a contact request, a bit like a friend request on Facebook. So I've sent one there. And if I go back to the other account, I can see there's a notification that says Joe test account has sent you a contact request. And I want to accept that contact request. Okay, so now these two accounts, this one called Joe's friend, and so this one called Joe's friend, sorry, and this one called Joe's test account are now contacts. You can see them in your, if you go to contacts here, you can see that there's a contact there. So why is this significant? Why is this useful? Well, go back to our drive. I've got no documents here because I've lost it for some reason. But my friend, Joe's friend, can go into Share, Contacts, Edit, and I've got my list of contacts here, so I can share this document with Joe test account. And that means you don't need to share links around. It keeps it just to the people that need to access the document, and you're not creating links that anyone who has access to can access your data. And that's a helpful way of being careful about who has access to which bits of information. So that's how you would manage editing and sharing documents, which is the majority of what you're doing. Sometimes, however, you might want to share a few documents at a time or have a set folder that people have access to, rather than doing everything one document at a time. Because if you imagine you were sharing each one individually with a list of people, it would get a bit exhausting. So what you can do is you can create a shared folder in your drive. And I'll leave it without a password for now, because I'm going to use an access list, which is reasonably good by itself. And I can share, right click on that, and I can click share. And I can share with my contact, Joe test account. So if I go back to Joe test account, I can see in my notifications, I've got a folder shared with me and a document shared with me. So I'm just going to refresh the page. I'm going to attempt to say click. Okay, so I can use that notification to access those documents, and I want to store this one in my drive. And the same. So I've now got in my drive these two. I've got the folder with nothing in currently, and I've got that document. This folder means that anything you create in the inside is automatically shared with all the people that have access to it. So if you've got a team of people working on something, you just need to create one folder that they're all working on, and everything can be created within that. And that means it's automatically shared between you. And you can also just use a link. So that's the basics of how you access, create documents, share them with other people. That should keep you going for most of it. If you wanted to, there's lots of different forms, types of document you can create and file types. It's worth having a look at. Some will be used more than others. A classic example of something that might be used is, in your secret folder, is a form. A form is a way of securely gathering data, so only you and your team have access to it, and that it's not sent via a big company like Google or an unencrypted store on your website. So let's create a quick scheduling pool. And this has, so this is, you can create your questions in here one at a time. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but effectively there's one question at a time. You can add them in. You add in the type of question here, for example, anything you would like to add to the agenda. These are classically used for action sign-up sheets, where you want lots of people to be able to sign up and to be able to look through. And then once you've created this, you have a public link you can copy, you can share with anyone. They don't need an account to access it. And now anyone can fill out this form to say when they can do, add some information to the agenda, and you can choose whether you add it anonymously or with your account. So those are two types of file that you might be using for organising with CryptPad. It's worth exploring. Leave that page. And that should get you set up for doing most of what you need to do. Just going to mention quickly and then end this video, CryptPad teams, which are used by some people when you've got to manage a large number of members with different access levels to different documents. It's a good way of organising information. So if everyone's got their CryptPad account set up, you can use teams to manage different numbers of members. Teams are a little bit like a slightly souped up version of a shared folder. You create a new team, let's call it example team, and they're just a list of members with a file structure, a bit like your personal file structure. And the team itself has a limit of 1 GB. The team has a drive, much like your personal drive, but it's owned by the whole team rather than just you. And it has members. At the moment, just one member, but we could invite people, either directly our contacts, invite them like this, and they can become invited people, or you can create a link, let's say for up to 5 people, that you can send with an optional password to say the main members, and then create link. And you copy that and you can share it with your team. And that means you can invite people to this account and they have to accept in their CryptPad. Let's move over to Joe's friend. I've been invited to join a team. I have to say, yes, I'd like to join that team. And then once you've accepted, you'll see that it comes up in so that's both of the accounts have a team on their list. But for this one that's just been invited, they've got read-only access to the document. So there's multiple levels. You can either be just a viewer, you can promote your friend to a member so that they can pretty much do everything on the team when it comes to interacting with the document. If you go back here, I can now create documents. Or if you promote them even further, they could be an admin, which means as well as being able to create documents, you can go into members and you can invite members to the team because I'm an admin. But if I demote myself, then I won't be able to add admins. And there is a chat functionality, but people don't tend to use this. I'm going to leave it for there for document types. It's worth exploring different ones that are out there, but that should get you going. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. This is part of the Tipping Points Tech Hub, which is a free hub of tech tools and trainings for grassroots organisers in Britain. You can check out more information about tools that are on offer and any upcoming trainings at the first link. And we rely on grants and donations and support from the movement to keep these up. So any support, anything you can chip in, is always appreciated and goes pretty far. Thanks. Bye.